Arsenal are evolving again, tactically. Arteta's doing more and more interesting things with this team. Why is he doing that? Well, it's obvious, because teams find answers. Coaches are brilliant. They will come up with answers to what Arsenal do, no matter how good our players are. So how is he doing it? How is he coming up with different ideas? How is he coming up with new solutions for the problems that Arsenal will continue to face on a game-to-game basis? Well, this came out from The Athletic, and I found it really, really interesting. It's a graphic that shows us how each Premier League team progresses up the field. Now, as you can see, at the bottom, we've got passes per sequence, and then you've got the direct speed. What it tells us is a style of football. Man City have, they're less direct, but they have a high amount of possession. Everton, on the other hand, are more direct with low possession. That makes sense to what we see with the eye test. But interestingly enough, Arsenal are parked along with Fulham almost perfectly in the middle at median direct speed with median passes, which is really interesting, because if you look at this from the analyst only the season before, we can see that a very, very similar graphic measured in the exact same way has Arsenal much closer to Man City's slow and intricate style of football, where there's clearly a lot of possession, there's a lot of probing, a lot of patience, compared to the more direct football that was used by the likes of Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Brentford, whoever it might be. Arsenal have gone that way, dropping their passes per sequence by almost one whole pass per sequence this season on last season. Now that's really interesting. How are Arsenal doing that, and why are they doing it, and what's the main source for it? Well, I think the first place to look is the goalkeeper, David Raya, who I think has been tremendous this season. And I know that we've talked about wanting to see the goalkeeping side more, the big saves and the keeping us in games, but he's also tactically evolving a lot, being given a lot of credit last season for cross-claiming and catching and passing out the back. His long kicks have been something that Arsenal have utilised a lot this season. Let me show you this graphic here, because comparing the 23-24 season, so last campaign, to this current campaign, you can see that our attempted launched passes from the goalkeeper, David Raya, has gone from 11.60 to 16.14, almost 5 more per game in the Premier League, leaving us 5th ranked in the Premier League for the most attempted launch passes by our goalkeeper. The percentage of launched goal kicks has gone from 35.9% up to a whopping 77.8%. Again, clearly the most in the Premier League this season, with an average length of our goal kicks going from 30.7 yards up to 34.6 yards per match on average, ranking us first in the Premier League. Now, why wouldn't you do that when you've got someone like Kai Havertz, who's so brilliant in the air, winning 3.65 aerials per game, per 90, which according to FB Ref puts him in the top 15% for strikers in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. When you've got someone like that, you can go from one end of the pitch to the other, you can bypass the press. Why would you not do that? So clearly it's something that Arsenal, with a really good distribution goalkeeper, that's not the way to put it, but you get what I mean, someone who's very good at going long in David Raya, you've got someone who's really good in the air like Kai Havertz. It's an area, it's a weapon that you would use. But is this something that Arsenal are trying to adopt more regularly? Is this something that actually Arsenal want to do and be more direct as a general part of their overall game plan throughout the rest of the campaign? I'm not so sure, because of two things. A, there's context we can't forget to the start of the season, which is we've played away at City, we've played away at Spurs, we've played away at Villa. We've had PSG as well, amongst that in the Champions League. We've had a tricky away trip to Atalanta. So there's a style of football that some of those games require you to play. So when you look at those other games that are slightly more favourable, and actually, by the way, don't forget the red card against Brighton, that's going to play a part. When you look at two of the more favourable fixtures at home where we didn't have a man sent off, you can see here from these stats that against Leicester and Southampton, well, I couldn't get all the exact data. You can see that our attempted launch passes from the goalkeeper against Leicester and Southampton was 8 and 5, down from the 16.14 that we've averaged throughout the season. And the percentage of launched goal kicks is actually 0 for both those games. The percentage of them that were launched beyond 40 yards is how they measure it, with 77.8% being the average, as we mentioned. As you can see, the average length of goal kicks against Leicester was 20.3 yards, massively down on the 34.6 yards that we've seen as the average throughout the campaign. So it tells me that while Arsenal can go long, will be happy to play long, and understand that in certain contexts they're going to need to, I still think when they are the team expected to win, to have lots of possession, there is a style of football they'll adapt that's a lot more the Man City element. But Arteta's trying to get this team doing different things, and we've seen it. What is it this team can't do? From a pure defensive perspective, we can go man for man. We can press teams all over the pitch, go man for man, and suffocate teams in their third as they try play out the back. We can go deep blocks, so when they cross the halfway line, if they're trying to break us down, we can get into 2 banks of 4. We can get really difficult to break down. We can even go into a 5-3-2 if we have to and make sure that our wingers are helping our fullbacks. We can even starve teams with possession. That is a defensive attribute of this team, that we can even keep the ball, move it around, and get teams retreating back to their goal because Arsenal have got on the ball and started playing. And we do all this in a 4-2-4 build-up where we can get our fullbacks wide on the touchline, and we can really stretch the pitch and sort of give our midfielders time and space to play. We can even go for a 3-2-4-1, which is the system we've seen with Zinchenko inverting, Calafiori inverting. That gives us extra domination in the middle of the park. We can sometimes go with all the overlapping fullbacks, so instead of tucking our fullbacks in, they go high and wide and overlap the likes of Saka and Martinelli and give them width and power out on the touchline around them too. And we can even go long, like we mentioned, with these kind of stats that are telling us Arsenal go a lot more from David Raya to Kai Havertz if we want to be more direct. Arsenal can do so many different things and adapt to the state of the game. If it's the Etihad where we need to do one thing with 11 men, we can do another thing with 10 men. If it's Tottenham where we need to get on the ball because we need to find a goal, but now we've got something to protect, we can play a different game. This team have evolved so much and are playing so many different styles of football in one game, in one game sometimes, let alone in one season. Because Arteta's got this team coached so well. And there's one quote and one set of words and phrasing and language that's not just used by Mikel Arteta, but it's starting to be used by his players. According to AFC stuff, we've got this quote via Prime Video Sport, when Mikel Arteta said after beating PSG, he says, sometimes it's not something that we want, but if the opponent takes it to that game, we have to be happy to play that game. We want to continue to win in any context. He's been using those words, win in any context, so often recently in press conferences, and as you can see, Bukayo is using it as well. Bukayo Saka says here that I see a lot of people speak about Arsenal and the way we play. It's about results. Different games have different contexts. We have to do whatever it takes to win in any context, whether it's set pieces or playing our beautiful football. We just want to win. Again, do what it takes to win in any context. Once again, Bukayo Saka and Mikel Arteta are driving it home, not just in the eye test and the stats, showing that Arsenal can do lots of different things, not just seeing ourselves in that middle of that graph by the Athletic that has us in the middle saying we quite literally do a little bit of everything, whether it's slow, intricate, fast, direct, possession-based, non-possession based. We are pinpointed right there in the middle because we can do a little bit of everything. But it's also in the way they speak. They are telling us very, very clearly, we want to be able to do everything. And whatever the game state requires, we are going to show that we're capable of doing that. And I think it's a really exciting evolution. Where last season we saw a little bit more off the ball work, a little bit of Arsenal being more sensible, not sort of, going all out attack to win games in the first 15-20 minutes, but really considering their defensive shape, going on a little bit more. But the season before that, we were electric. We did have our wingers firing and we did have, really fast starts to game. We did invert our fullback a lot and pack out the midfield. And now this season, you're seeing a little bit of blend of that with everything. Calafiori sometimes inverts, sometimes he goes beyond the number 8, sometimes he just hugs the touchline. Timber can tuck into midfield, but so often he's overlapping Bukayo Saka too. There is so much this team can do. There's so many different ways in which we can play. And I think Mikel Arteta's been building up to this to the point where you see it now. Every profile of player he signed, there's a reason why Ben White, before signing, had played right back, centre back, right of a back three, and in midfield. Calafiori's played left back, left wing back, centre back. And name any player you want. They have played so many different positions because Arteta needs them to be able to do everything in any context to win. It's fascinating stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How good is this Arsenal team? How much have they evolved? And have we got to a point tactically where you're thinking, we've got what we need tactically to go win this league? Because there's no game and no opponent where we don't have a plan for them.